All right, good afternoon, should I say, young accountants. I am tasked with the job this afternoon of convincing you of how important it is for accountants to continue their professional development. And my theme is continuing professional education, the engine for growth in the accounting profession. All right, give me a second here. Okay. I want to set the perspective right. And so the first thing I would want to do is to first define accounting and then define continuing professional education. So I'm not going to give you the traditional definition that we give for accounting. I'm going to say that accounting is often referred to as the language of business. If you remember this aspect of accounting as being the language of business, it sets the stage for you to understand how important, how significant, how critical the role of the accountant is in the business industry. The accountant sets the language. However, the accountant presents the information. It affects the financial analyst. It affects everybody else in finance. Everybody in the business sector is dependent on the information that the accountant presents. So if the accountant presents rubbish, then everybody gets rubbish. All the decisions are based on rubbish. It cannot be overstated how critical the role of the accountant is. And then we look at continuing professional education. It's a continuation of an accountant's professional development beyond their initial training, qualification, and induction. I want to set a perspective for you in terms of your continual professional education because there are really two broad streams. You're looking at your content, your knowledge of accounts, how critical that is to you. And then you have to look at the person who is the accountant. Because if you're a very accomplished accountant in terms of your content and your knowledge, and you're not a totally developed person on the other side, you might find that you're going to have struggles in the industry. The role of the accountant has actually changed over time. All right, accounting is a dynamic professional discipline which evolves as businesses and the way of doing business changes. So this is telling you that accounting is a dynamic professional discipline which evolves as businesses and the way of doing business change. And imagine if you were an accountant who graduated from university in 1976 and you did not go back to school to do any professional development, and you were faced with a financial statement of, say, a bank in 2021, you would certainly be confused by what you see on the balance sheet. Not only that, standards have been withdrawn, new standards added, new assets created. In fact, most of us would have remembered that in our preliminary days in high school, you were told that an asset is anything of monetary value owned by the business. We know we can't say that today. We have assets that defy what we knew was an asset in the earlier period of the 20th century, moving into the 21st century. Now, we have to understand that accounting evolves, and because the businesses are evolving, the accounting evolves with it, and so too the accountant has to evolve. I don't know how much you know about the credit crisis of 2008, but the credit crisis of 2008 brought tremendous pressure on the IFRS, right? The standard setters were accused of coming up with this concept called fair value, which created a lot of problems for the banks during the financial crisis. And so they were put under severe pressure to actually change the applicable standards at the time. Out of that deliberation came IFRS 9, which is a new standard, which as accountants, you have to learn each day as you go along. What are the changes, right? So I want you to understand that accounting is evolving, and so as accounting evolves, you as the accountant will also have to evolve. To continue speaking the language, accountants also have to grow in their accounting knowledge and understanding. If you want to be an accountant and you want to be on top of your game, then continual professional education is going to be very important for you. Over the years, as accounting evolved, many things have changed. Definitions, as we said before, example, assets have become more sophisticated. We now have derivatives. The accounting standards have changed, new ones added, old ones updated and eliminated, and the role of the accountant in providing services to the organization. Now, this point number 3 here is so critical. And it's only when, as a student, you leave the confines of university and you go to work in an organization, you realize how critical the accountant is. The accountant is almost like the village doctor in an organization. He's called upon for everything. So as an accountant, you're going to have to know about the laws, company laws, laws of the society that impact a business. You're going to have to know some finance. So I don't want you to think that when you're doing your professional development, you should only be thinking about accounting strict. You should be thinking about the related disciplines: finance, law, and your accounting content, because on many occasions, the accountant also plays the role of financial controller, finance manager, and is required to have a really wide range of understanding about business and interrelated matters. So for example, in the 70s, an accountant was primarily supposed to just play the function of an accountant. And he does his work and he submits his financial statement. You'll find that in most organizations today, we have to think about the accountant as a leader, as an advisor, as somebody who provides continuous information to management about where the business is and where the business wants to go. So it's very important that you understand that, you know, your role as the accountant is critical. I remember when I was at Mayberry, you know, there was a meeting, and I won't disclose, but Mayberry was trying to strategize a move. And in that meeting was myself as the CFO, the board, and our audit firm. And the strategy that they wanted to undertake was all but signed off on and ready to go. And then I remembered IFRS 10. And I said to them, you know, we can't take that part we're going to take. And the auditor said to me, why not, Fanny? And I said, guys, you remember IS 10 section, that. And they said, wow, yes, bring the book. And they brought the standards book. And after we read that section out, it was realized that the strategy would not be allowed under IFRS 10. What was the importance of that? At the end of the meeting, the two brothers came over to me and they said, Nathaniel, boy, that was a good move, because if you had not come up with that point, we would have totally forgotten that here is a clause in the standard that opposes the very thing that we were doing, missed by the auditors. But as an accountant, the trust that people have in you is your capability, your confidence, and your knowledge of what is accounting. Now, I've always made sure that in any deliberations that I have in my function as an accountant, that I always seek to develop and grow myself. Now, I will tell you another point that shows you how critical development is. When I was at Bank of Jamaica, I was the head of finance and accounts. And one day I went to an impromptu meeting by the governor. And the governor said to me, Nathaniel, I would like us to start thinking about senior Raj accounting at the Bank of Jamaica. Now, bless my soul, I'd never heard that term before, senior Raj accounting. So I said to the governor, perhaps, sir, today is not a good day for us to discuss senior Raj accounting, but I guess at some time in the early future. I left the governor's office and I went on the internet and I punched in senior Raj accounting and I read up all that I could about senior Raj accounting. And then one day the governor said to me, out of the blue, Nathaniel, can you come over here, please? We need to have some discussion about senior Raj accounting. And I was able to rattle on for 40 minutes, telling them all they needed to know about senior Raj accounting. The governor said, I didn't know you were so well read on that. And I said, yes, sir, I have been well read. Development, knowledge. When you're able to do that for your managers, they have confidence in you. And remember now, without confidence, an accountant is nobody. If when you prepare a set of financial statement, nobody has any confidence in it, then your credibility as an accountant begins to diminish. All right, let's look at specializations in the accounting profession. Most persons start out as general accountants, but later become specialists. Specialization requires ongoing training and development. Specialization in the accounting profession, financial accounting, cost accounting, which is very much in short supply in Jamaica, auditing, managerial accounting, accounting information systems, tax accounting, and of course, forensic accounting. If you decide in your career that you're going to do any specialization, of course, you're going to have to do more professional studies and to develop yourself. Now, if you decide, for example, that you're going to take on something such as forensic accounting, which is quite a different approach to accounts from financial accounting, you're still going to need your financial accounting background, but you would need to go and study some more about forensic accounting. Perhaps you could take on some certificate courses. And if you decide that you are going to specialize in tax accounting, again, you would need to pursue some more professional courses. And you'd have to think about getting yourself embedded deeper in terms of tax laws and taxation strategies. And if you're doing managerial accounting, you have to look at ways in which you can provide information in a way that would make it more acceptable and easily understood by management. So again, you have to have continuous professional education. Staying on top of your game, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica, ICAJ, offers training programs for continuing professional development. Now, the ICAJ calls it CPD, but CPD is, of course, equivalent for just saying CPE. The knowledge needed to function as a professional accountant changes rapidly. Compliance with the CPD program is an integral component of membership with the ICAJ. So if you're a member of the ICAJ, you have to do a number of credits for the year in terms of CPD. So not only is it encouraged, but it is a requirement for you to continue or to maintain your professional status with the ICAJ. Just to explain for some of us who might not know, you can be a chartered accountant, but there's a difference between a private chartered accountant and a public chartered accountant. So you have to be a member of the ICAJ for at least 2 years as a private chartered accountant, and then you can apply to become a public accountant, which means this is now an approval that has to be made by a government body with recommendation from the ICAJ. The ICAJ offer CPD programs that includes IFRS training, taxation training, and of course, leadership training, because this is what I was saying to you, that as an accountant, you can seek to develop your professional qualifications and the expertise, but you also have to look on your personal development side. How good a leader am I? Because when you become head of your accounts department and you're in charge of 25 persons, how well that department does is a function not only of your accounting skills, but of your leadership skills, your teamwork skills, your ability to work with people, to motivate them, to find out those who need additional training. It is very important that you understand that as an accountant, when you go into the working world, you're not going to be blinkered and just be focused on accounting. You're going to have to look at leadership, teamwork skills, and of course, one critical skill for an accountant is communication skill. Because how you write your reports and how you engage management in discussions around the financial statement is a function of your effective ability to communicate. So you need to do courses. Nobody has to tell you that, well, if I don't see a course on the ICAJ platform that says communication skills, no, you should look at yourself and say, in my role as an accountant, how critical is communication to me? And of course, you're going to say communication is a very critical skill. So you can take it up on your own. You can actually take it on your own, find a communication development skills course, and attend it. Now, you might not know that one of the great hallmarks of a great communicator is the ability to listen. And so listening skills, we make them sound like they are simple. And I always tell people of a story where Bank of Jamaica sent me a management development program, and it was a listening skills program. And I thought I was a great listener. And there were 25 of us there from BOJ. And after we did the first listening skills test, the highest score was 19%, 19 out of 100. And I got 19. And I thought I did badly. Well, that's bad by any standards. But the fact that 19 was the top score. And I said to the professor, I said, what is the reason why I did so badly? He said, well, Nathaniel, when you were doing the course, you were looking through the window. You are everywhere except here. You are not here. So you're here in body, but physically, mentally, you weren't here. Your mind was somewhere else. And I said to him, is this a norm for the Caribbean? And he says, yes. In all these global studies, you realize that people in the Caribbean got very low scores for listening. So I said to him, okay, the next assessment is coming up. And I had some discussions with him about how to enhance it. And the next listening skills, I was up there in the 90s. I learned that you don't only listen with your ears, but you listen with your eyes. So the very next Monday when I went back to work, the first staff member who came in to speak to me, I decided to do some of the very things that I was told on a training program to do. So I cleared my desk, I moved my phone to the side, and I engaged the person in a discussion. So I said to the person, what is it that you're telling me? Is it that you're telling me that 1, 2, 3, the person says yes. I said, are you telling me that? So I repeated, and I gave the person my 100% attention. The phone rang and I didn't answer. And the person said to me, Mr. Summers, that is just remarkable. And I said, how was I before? They said to me, well, you listened, but you had so many other things doing that I don't think you heard half of what we were saying. So what is the importance? Listening is an effective part of communicating, because if you don't listen, what are you going to communicate? Staying on top of your game. As an individual, you should seek to enhance your capacity as an accountant by continuing your studies in accounting and related fields. For example, pursue certificate courses in fields such as auditing, leadership, wealth management, and finance. I deliberately put some letters behind my name, not to big up myself, as you would say in Jamaica, but to show you that over my time, I'm not telling you to do something that I have not done. I'm a chartered wealth manager. I'm a chartered asset manager. I'm not required to do that for an account. But you can imagine when you apply to an organization as to become the CFO, and they realize that you have been training. For example, I'm going to Mayberry, and Mayberry is an investment company, and they realize that not only is your accountant an accountant, but he's a chartered asset manager and a wealth manager. He understands the very essence of what the business is about. It ensures that your scope is so wide, because as an accountant, you're called to many meetings. And when you go to those meetings, you'll be surprised how often the scope and knowledge of the accountant is tested and brought into play. I had to do many on-the-spot explanations when I was at BOJ, both for the accounting and when the board met. So you have to be prepared. And the only way you can keep in touch with the ever-evolving nature of accounts and the business world today is to ensure that continuing professional education is critical to you and to your professional life. I close by using a quote from Albert Einstein, that great mathematician. Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it. I always try to improve on myself. And even though I'm currently doing an online professional development course, which I hope to complete next year, information added, expertise added is value added. Thank you all.